Hello, my name is Leylah Moreno. I'm the diversity editor for the Iowa State Daily, and welcome to Humans of Iowa State. Today I'm joined with Alexis Newport. Alexis, would you like to introduce yourself?
Of course. Yeah, my name's Alexis Newport. I am both a senior and a grad student here at Iowa State studying applied linguistics and teaching English as a second language. So, senior, first year grad student, kind of juggling them both. And I'm also vice president of the Pride Alliance.
Awesome. And the first question that we like to ask all of our guests here on Humans of Iowa State is, tell me your story.
Yeah, so back in high school, I originally, like all growing up, wanted to do engineering. That was my big passion. And then I took an engineering class and it wasn't for me. So through a variety of different volunteer work that I did, I got interested in the world of teaching English as a second language and decided to go to school for linguistics. Also, on that path, I was kind of invested in a lot of queer activism. So that started back in high school. And continued through my time here at Iowa State. I ended up at the Pride Alliance about my sophomore year. And I started as the Advocacy and Activism Chair and made my way to Vice President. So
Awesome. That sounds great. Can we hear a little bit more about your volunteer work that got you into the
Yeah.
major that you're in?
So I worked, it was through an alternative learning program at my high school. So it's called Iowa Big. We did work in the community and got school credit for it. So I helped out with a place called the Catherine McAuley Center. And I helped with their after school program for immigrant youth. And through that work, I worked with a variety of English language teachers, and I saw a need in my community for more of those, and I went up to them and I'm like, hey, what did you guys go to school for? And so that kind of led me into linguistics. Specifically, I chose Iowa State for that because they have the 4+1 program, the accelerated masters, and I'm a little bit addicted to academia. I would get like a million degrees if I could. So I'm like, yes, I want to do that.
And where do you think like your maybe obsession, if you will, with learning comes from?
Yeah, I grew up just thirsting for knowledge, I think, ever since like I was really little. I loved asking why, like the classic toddler question when you're like 3 and you're like, why does this do this? Why does this do this? And it never really stopped asking why. And my parents were lovely with it. They encouraged it. And just throughout school, I was just always wanting more. So I'm very much I think it's just an academically minded person where I'm like, I constantly just want to be learning.
Is that why you chose to kind of balance 2 degrees at once?
Yeah, it's just I would get so many more degrees if money was unlimited. But what really drove me to want to do the accelerated masters is just the fact that I want to be able to go out into the workforce. Like, what inspired me to get into teaching English is the want to help my community. And so being able to get out and do that as quick as possible was part of that reasoning, but also I just knew I wanted more degrees than just the one.
Yeah. And then I think you kind of explained a little bit why you chose Iowa State.
Yes.
Coming from like what you wanted in your degree. How has your experience been here at Iowa State?
I've had a blast. In addition to being very academically, like, what's a good word for it? Academically adventurous. I also like to get involved with like the communities that I hold close while on campus, and I've had an amazing time with that at Iowa State. I'm part of the Pride Alliance. I've done programs like English Together, helped out with the International First Year Seminar, and really just, I love connecting with people, and it's been just a blast here.
I want to hear a little bit about what it was like at English Together, because that was something that
Yes.
I heard about on campus.
Yeah, English Together is a conversational English group for people who are learning English as a second language. It's open to students, it's open to family members, anyone really in the community who needs access to that. And it's led by students at Iowa State. So they help create the lesson plans and they show up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. There's 2 leaders for each one. And you just help guide through conversation, through games, topics of interest. It's just kind of like a fun little chit chat all the time.
That sounds like a really unique, cool experience. Do you think that like helped you a lot with experience in your major?
Oh my gosh, yes. Because one of the things when you're like learning to teach is bridging the gap between like practice and theory. And I was talking to my friend about this today. It's like baseball. You can read up and watch every game and take meticulous notes on how to hit the ball the best. But when you show up and you start swinging, that knowledge can only do so much. And it's true the other way around, where you can step up and you can swing as much as you can, but without knowing how to hold the bat, you're not going to get very far. So it's it allowed me to really balance the theory and practice aspects of teaching languages.
And do you think that since you've started working in this major, has that changed your approach to communication or just the way that you live your everyday life at all?
I think it's made me honestly more of like an empathetic person, because I specifically work with immigrant populations is what I want to go into, what I do now. And just being able to know what their experience is like on a deeper level like that, it helps you empathize more with their experience, because it's hard when you're in a place and you have to constantly be translating in your brain, and you have to constantly be just like thinking about what you're going to say on that level and having to think about it that hard. It's not easy. And through my major and through kind of that kind of experience, it's helped me understand like on a deeper level kind of how to support people in that position, but also what exactly they're going through.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Do you want to talk a little bit about being in Pride Alliance?
Yes.
Awesome.
So I started as advocacy and activism, my chair my sophomore year. And I originally got interested in wanting to be a part of like a queer organization on campus because of the closing of the Center for LGBTQ Success. That was just a really useful resource for a lot of queer students on campus. When I was a freshman, it was a great place for me to go and make friends, ones that I still have to this day. And it was really hurtful and kind of sad to see that go. And I knew that there were a whole bunch of things that they did to support the queer community, and I didn't want to see that get taken away. So I wanted to see what I can do to try and keep some of those traditions and some of those resources available to students. So I joined Pride Alliance during that semester. And throughout my time there, I've been really focused on how to best build community and how to best support community, specifically the queer community at Iowa State.
And I know there's got to be a lot of challenges that come with advocating for the queer community, especially at a very conservative state. So I want to hear a little bit about those challenges, but I also want to hear about what keeps you motivated.
Yeah. So I've been very exposed to kind of the harshness that exists as experiencing life as a queer person in the state of Iowa. I have been queer since I was very little. It was very obvious that there was something going on there in that sense since I was very young. And I felt the unfriendliness that can happen in Iowa through the school system, and of course, that carries on to nowadays. Specifically, some stuff that have happened is last year there were statements made against the spring drag show publicly, calling for it to be canceled, all of that fun jazz. And it's not fun to deal with like the pushback against existing and hosting events and all of that, but what really keeps me going is that it's something that needs to be done, and I have a lot of privilege as a white cis passing woman in this space. Like, there's people who do have significant barriers to being able to be like a front-facing person with these issues, and I take it really well. I am really quick to try and de-escalate and move on and try and take a deep breath and not let it hit where it hurts. And it's easier said than done some days, but I just know that it's work that needs to be done, and I can do it.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's not always easy to deal with, but it's good to hear that you can kind of, water off a duck's back kind of thing. And,
One of the instances, I was on the bus this last week, and I have a whole bunch of pins about various different like queer topics on my bag. And I like to be visibly queer in that way, because there's that person that taps you on the shoulder on the bus and goes, "Thank you for doing that. Thank you for being saying and being so visibly queer, because I can." And it's something that I see as more of like a responsibility that I can do rather than something that's like forced upon me kind of thing. I feel like I have gotten so much from having a community of people who can commiserate and share experiences, that because I face less barriers, I feel like I need to be the one that can take that brunt of the force.
Yeah, I like that. Approach to it.
Yeah.
I think not a lot of people talk about what it's like to be queer at a very predominantly conservative school. Do you want to share a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So one of the biggest challenges for me being queer in such like an agricultural school, such an engineering school, a school that's not necessarily super queer out front like other places are. It can be difficult to find other queer people, and that was what I struggled with for a while, is finding my footing and finding other people. Because it's my thought process is a problem shared is a problem halved. Even having someone to be able to go, "Doesn't this suck?" to makes it suck just a little less. So that's kind of where my concept of community comes from, is wanting to provide that for the queer community at Iowa State. A place where people can come and be queer and meet other people that are queer without the pressure that exists outside of the club.
Yeah. And is there any memories that you think back fondly on when it comes to being in the queer community here at Iowa State or having that leadership role?
Drag show days.
Mm-hmm.
I love drag show day every single year that we decided to do it twice a year. So we have the spring drag show, and that acts as our major fundraiser. We have queens who do this professionally come in, and it's always so fun because it's a big production. And my favorite memories are being backstage, getting a queen hyped up to go on stage, fanning her because she has 5 layers of tights on and it's hot in the back of the M shop, and just getting that experience because it's such a different perspective on especially being like in the club and working behind the scenes than you get to see on a drag show. Like, all that goes into that, and we loved it so much. We love having performances like that so much that we decided to do the amateur drag show in the fall, highlighting talent at Iowa State. And we don't have any barriers to entry for that. So if you submit, like, fill out the form and are like, I want to be in the show, we're like, absolutely, because it's a good resume builder for one, but also because we want to celebrate all, like, the artists and all of the queer people at Iowa State that are willing to put themselves in that position and willing to express themselves in that way. So I love drag show days.
That is so fun, and it
It's
sounds
so fun.
so amazing to just be that open and accepting and just have such a good time, especially I think it's really cool that you guys do the amateur show. That is
Yes.
amazing. What a cool opportunity. Can you tell me a little bit about what you hope that the queer community kind of takes away from those Pride Alliance events and just in general?
Just that there's other people going through what you're going through. Being queer in Iowa and being queer in like such a conservative, redder state can feel like you're the only person going through what you're going through, and it can suck, and it's designed to be isolating, right? And what I want people, when they come to the drag show or when they come to our game nights, when they come to our identity socials, is I want them to be able to forget about that for a second and just know that the person going next to them, they're going through at least similar to what you're going through, and we can commiserate, but we can also join together and find joy.
That's lovely. I love that. Is there anything that if you could go back that you would tell to younger Alexis?
Drop that freshman year friend group. No.
Oh my goodness.
If I could go back and talk to myself and tell specifically freshman year me a piece of advice, is just hang in there. There's great things coming on the horizon, and you just have to put in the work and be there for them to happen. Some things happen by chance, some things happen because you have to put in a good amount of elbow grease, but good things are coming.
All right. Is there anything else that you would like to share or talk about that we didn't get to touch on today?
Make sure to register for the Pride Alliance Amateur Drag Show Night when we have that available. Keep that in your repertoire.
Yeah.
Just my biggest thing is you're not alone. There are people here who are going through exactly what you're going through. There's support, and just it might be hard right now, but there's so many people who are here in it with you. We can get through it.
Thank you so much for coming on and joining us today, Alexis. That was amazing. But that will be all for today's episode. Thank you very much.